Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom right hand side GillonBBII or BBLL, I can never tell. I'm just going to go with Gillion for now. He's from Team Property on the EU server. He is our Masters level Terran in the bottom right hand side of Frost LE, the ladder edition. So it is on the ladder, and since Gillion is a Masters level Terran, we can assume that Elazer is going to be a relatively comparable skill level. In fact, he is a Grandmasters on the EU Zerg, which has got me so excited. It's got me just flipping out. I love games of this skill level. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. He is our green Zerg in the top right hand side from @Gaming. His clan is @Gaming. I don't know what the CM means. It could be some sort of foreign language thing where the C and the G overlaps. I don't know. Don't care either. He's just talented, and I'm looking forward to that talent. We can see that the Overlords are splitting off in two different directions. Frost LE, of course, having multiple spawning locations that you kind of have to deal with, and so those Overlords are going to be giving Elazer a bit of a jump start. In fact, Gillion opting not even to try. He's not even sitting down an SCV. He's just going to be looking around, and I'm going to be looking at the production tab just for the time being, because really the world is your oyster whenever you have many different opportunities for spawning locations. The ball's kind of in Elazar's court. Does he want to open up with some sort of like very heavy macro build, or does he try to get the jump on the Terran, the unsuspecting Terran, because he's got these Overlords? He's going to be able to tell where exactly the Terran is. But regardless, Elazer is going to be throwing down that hatchery first. No gas out of him just yet. So yeah, 15 hatch, probably followed by that very typical 15 pool. I write down the names of the players and their leagues so that I don't remember that @Gaming and Property Gaming is the clan that they're working for. I write it down on sticky notes, and I have it stuck to my second monitor just so I can keep track of it. And lately, my sticky note pad has been getting a little bit worse wear and tear, so it keeps falling down halfway through the cast, and it's very obnoxious. However, since I blow through the clans immediately, I don't have to worry about that too much, so I just tore down poor Elazer. I'm going to remember forever that he's from @Gaming, though. CC first coming down for the barracks shortly thereafter. No super early gas coming out from Gillion, so he's not going to be opting for that very heavy Reaper harassment. However, the possibility for a Hellion run-by is still very present. I love the Reaper opening, especially on a map like this where you do have a lot of cliffs that you can kind of abuse, so they can sneak into your opponent's base, find out exactly what's going on, and especially whenever you have such a late scouting time, because remember, Gillion still hasn't sent out an SCV at all. Totally playing in the dark right now. He is getting out that command center. Hopefully he'll be opting for a very early, I guess, a Hellion, because the refinery is so very, very late. He does have that 50 gas now, but he's opting for that Marine first, which is fine because that Overlord is going to be sweeping in here. First bunker going down on the low ground. He'll have the defenses up necessary to deal with any aggression, and in fact, Elazar's not making motions like he wants to do any aggression at all. Still with that just one drone in the gas, inching his way towards that 100 gas necessary for that speed. And in fact, with only one drone in there, usually you see all three of them until later you pull out all but one, so you can work towards lair. That speed is going to be woefully slow, and this is what we can see, that the boon of not having all those drones in the gas is being sent on just a couple of extra minerals, getting 2 queens out right now. Going to be overcharging that creep, because we have to talk about thirds. There's only 2 locations that you can really grab a third on this map. You have the obvious one over here on the left side, and then the more aggressive one down here. Really, you don't see it very often. Every now and then on a Protoss it's being like hyper aggressive or something like that, but very, very typically the one up here is the more popular one, and that's for a lot of different reasons, but it's usually because it's not towards your opponent. Even if in the bottom left hand side, this one's a little bit easier to defend, and you can also position your whole army up here on the high ground. However, that's a long walk, and in order for you to deal with that long walk, you need a couple of extra queens so that you can poop out all the creep necessary. And in fact, we can see that Gillion is throwing down a CC in a really weird position. I don't know. I don't know if he's thinking about taking this really aggressive one. Again, this is something that you can do whenever you're being very aggressive. Maybe you're meching and you want to position your tanks like here, but then you have to worry about the run-by on the right side. Regardless, this third CC coming out, the positioning tells me that he probably wants to go up here. Logic and reason tells me that he probably wants to go down here. Why in the world he wouldn't just build it up on the high ground so he can float it down? Totally beyond me. Maybe it was just a convenience thing. He had the SCV that was going to be building stuff in the position already. Regardless, we can see that the first 2 Hellions are coming out. Do we do the reactor Hellion coming out with the stim pack immediately thereafter? Could be an 11 11 attack timing. These Hellions probably not going to be able to get too much done because, like I said, we did see a lot of queens. 2 more on the production tab. It's bringing them out to the grand total of 4. There's no drones. Oh, there's 1 drone over here at the 3rd hatchery, but these Hellions really aren't going to be finding a very tasty run-by location. This narrow choke made even more narrow by the addition of these 2 Evo chambers, and then with all these queens out in the open. Traditionally, you'd see one of these queens kind of getting worn down a little bit, taking a little bit of damage from the Reapers that had initially come out, pecking at them, and then running off so that they can rejuvenate and then come back in and peck at them a little bit more. Typically, that's why one of these queens are in trouble whenever these Hellions arrive en masse. You can focus them down and not expect to lose your Hellions by the time you kill off one of those queens, making it overall very cost effective. However, with the absence of those Reapers, Gillion isn't going to be able to do too much damage with this. He's not going to be able to do a run by, and he's not going to be able to be very cost effective against these queens. But man, with 6 of them, it does look like, oh no, a 3rd queen popping out of the hatchery just in the nick of time, and the 4th one swinging wide. How many queens does he have? 6. Wow, he does have 6. I guess another one in the natural, another one in the main, keeping up on that larva inject with 6 queens total. These Hellions are going to be completely shut down, going to have to run back. We do see a starport coming out in 4 barracks, so yes, an 11-minute timing, probably a little bit delayed. Again, with that delay in the gas, his stem was a little bit delayed, and since we don't see another tech lab on the barracks, we don't see combat shield being started immediately. It's kind of stacking both of those upgrades up, so his 11 attack timing is not going to have +1/+1 and stem. It's probably going to come maybe at the 12-minute mark. Regardless, he takes the orbital command down into the bottom left-hand side. He's in a pretty good position. He's got his 3 base macro machine flowing pretty heavily. I mean, we could see 49 to 75 drones. Wow, 75 drones. So greedy from Elazer. And he's finally got all 6 of his gases going, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Spire coming down. There is a Spire. Awesome. Am I looking right at it? Yeah, it's over here underneath these Overlords. Also, Lair starting up. No, that's not Lair. That's Hatchery. Does he have Lair already? He does have Lair, and that's what that 1 gas guy was working on. So that's good. I'm glad to see that I'm not missing absolutely everything. Look at that supply, 106 over 90. Gillion is I mean, he's looking at a Baneling bust, but also probably those Mutalisks are probably just going to be easing Elazer into the mid to late game. Those Mutalisks can be very, very pesky on a map like this, just because you have this huge wide open area up to the north where you can swing in, take out these SCVs, swing down into the main if you want to, or just retreat and then come around the opposite side. And in fact, Gillion is very well aware of this, getting his bunker, getting his nice wall up, so he doesn't have to deal with run-bys, only has to deal with just the in mass Zergling and Baneling army that usually is accompanied with the Spire. Only enough gas to get out 6 Mutalisks for the time being, but that's just because Elazer was so greedy early on, getting up this just massive economy. Very, very impressive. In fact, opting for a macro hatch, and with 4 Mutalisks coming out, really not that impressive, just for the time being, but a 4th base, man, holy crap. So Gillion is, does he opt for a 4th base, or does he opt to be aggressive? His 11-minute timing has come and gone. He has started immediately on a +2/+2. Combat shield just a couple of seconds from finishing. So yeah, it wouldn't have been that late. He could have done like a 12-minute timing. But again, those Mutalisks are now out, and that's what that 11-minute timing is designed to kind of circumvent, is to hit before the Mutalisks can get into a large number. And speaking of large number, Mutalisks really not in a large number. We only have 4 of them out now, 5th one, 5th, 6th, 7th on the production tab. But Gillion's not going to be able to do too much with this. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised for him to turn around and run away as soon as he sees these Mutalisks. He doesn't know if this is the entirety of his force, but he is pushing in. Ooh, the hot pickup from the Medivacs, making it so that the very squishy Marines do survive that huge Baneling ball, but now very well aware of the fact that this is going to be gunning for him. Oh no, the reinforcements on move command get cut up, but the Hellbat is going to be raining down a lot of fire on those Zerglings, forcing the retreat. Doesn't really want to turn around and exchange blows against these Marines, because they're so very cost effective against Mutalisks, especially whenever you only have half a dozen of them out on the field. A lot of Banelings being morphed in in the middle of the creep. But Gillion really doesn't want to be this aggressive. He is pushing onto this creep. Very, very ballsy play, and he knows it. He just kicks it back a little bit and then retreats. And that's something that those Hellions could have done earlier, even though they were pushed back pretty hard by those queens. You could still keep them out of field and kind of pick away at those creep tumors, but then you also run the risk of all of these zerglings pushing in. Nice pre-split from Gillion. This is going to be pretty cost effective for him, all things considered. His army completely melts away, but he deals a pretty good, all the banelings go down. There's not a lot of opening for Elazer to be aggressive after this. He doesn't lose many of his medevacs. He doesn't lose, basically the only good thing about this was he killed all of the banelings from Elazer, and Gillion kept his medevacs alive. Now the Mutalisk Ball is beginning to rise. In fact, it's that critical mass whenever you can one-shot those Widow Mines, but we don't really see Widow Mines coming out from Gillion right now. Majority Marine Misks. I really like the addition of these Hellbats. That's going to make his army very robust compared to the Banelings and the Zerglings that are going to be pouring in. Now we can see that this wall is really just saving Gillion's bacon, buying him a handful of seconds so that he can reposition his entire army, force away those things, ultimately costing him 200 minerals for those supply depots. Very nice defensive play coming out from Gillion. However, you can't win a game purely by being defensive. Even on a 3-based economy, Gillion has to be ridiculously cost effective. And he's been pretty cost effective. I mean, his resources lost, all things considered, kind of in the favor of Gillion. However, Elazer can afford to throw away a lot of resources. He's got a 5th base, for goodness sake, coming up, and that's strictly because of the gas. Lair tech, Hive tech is coming out from the Lair already with the Infestor Pit. No upgrades from that just yet. It looks like he's exclusively being on this Mutalisks and Zergling mix, but with the upgrades that he's got 2-2 already. I wouldn't be surprised to see 3-3 as soon as that Hive pops, and then we can see some Ultralisks coming out, which would absolutely make mincemeat even out of those Hellbats. Really nice composition to deal with these Marines. Now the Mutalisks do swing in from the north side of that natural. Very nice play here. In fact, taking down quite a lot of those workers. 12 of them completely destroyed. Very nice. And we, that's pretty good. That's not bad at all. 91 over 54 harvesters. Wow, look at that mineral income. And this is what I'm saying, is Elazer can just afford to throw away unit after unit, especially whenever the units that he's using are very cost effective. Mutalisks, incredibly cost effective. And then you can just throw away by the dozen Banelings and Zerglings, especially because the creep spread is so extreme. In order for Gillion to get anywhere near the enemy bases, he has to be on that creep, and that means he's very exposed to these Banelings. He knows it. He's spreading his guys as much as possible. Here comes the attack from 2 different locations, 3 if you count the Mutalisks coming in, this time targeting down those Marines, being very cost effective. But again, all those Banelings have gone down. The Marauders have survived, and man, that Thor is just shelling down so much damage against those Mutalisks. They have to retreat. Maybe if he magic boxed him, he probably could have taken down that Thor, because there's only a handful of Marines that had survived. But more importantly, again, I'm going to mention this again, those Mutalisks are staying up, or those medevacs are staying up, and that's super important. That the army, the longevity of the army is very much dependent on the fact that these medevacs have to survive, and that always comes down to the Zerg. The Zerg has to control his Mutalisks, making it so that he can take down these medevacs. He has to shut down the drop potential because of that, and he also makes it so that these Marauders don't rejuvenate their health. Every time they stem, they're taking away a little bit of health. Mutalisks come in from the right side, and it looks like the Banelings are coming in from the north. The Zerglings, wow, man. Good split from Gillion, and again, those Banelings really not being very cost-effective against those Marauders, but oof, they just get chewed up by Elazar's ground forces. And the Mutalisks, what happened to the Mutalisks? Oh man, that Thor's splash damage must have been just too much. We can see 8 more Mutalisks are on the production tab. Finally, Gillion is forced to retreat. Did a little bit of damage to the economy here. In fact, we can switch over to the Workers Killed tab. Totally even on that regards, but remember, Elazer was up to like 90. 3-3 on the way, as well as the ground carapace. Oh, and the adrenal glands. So those Zerglings are going to be incredibly intimidating, but no Ultralisk Cavern. He's not switching over to that tier 3 tech. We don't see any infestors. We don't see anything except for the composition that he's been using, and that's fine. I mean, he's been doing pretty good against it, but Gillion has been just steadily marching along his tech path. A really nice volley on top of those Mutalisks, doing just a little bit of damage, enough to get them to shy away. Got to be very aware of the Javelin missiles AoE attack. But with those Thors and the Hellbats, this is a lot more of a robust army than what we're expecting. A little bit of a run by from those Banelings. Nice hits on those SCVs. I don't know. There used to be a bunker here. I guess he just exploded on the bunker, but that doesn't force Gillion to turn around. In fact, it forces Gillion to push forward, do just a little bit more damage to the economy. You can see that the supply count pretty much even, but remember, the harvester count is very much in the favor of Elazer, which means that his army is going to be significantly smaller than Gillion's. And Gillion, he's got a tough army. I mean, there's a lot of Marines in there. Those Marines are going to get chewed up by the Banelings, but unless those Mutalisks have free reign on the Marauders and the Thors, there's really not a lot they can do to stop them, because, you know, the Banelings aren't going to do anything against the Hellbats, the Banelings aren't going to do anything against the Marauders, and that's a pretty decent chunk. Here we go, Gillian is pushing in, just kind of baiting out the Zergling and the Baneling push, but we can see all of his guys are popped up into a little bite-sized chunk. Oh man, the volley down on top of those Mutalisks, they get just destroyed. 5-6 kills on that Thor. The Zerglings do push in. Oh man, that's absolutely brutal. And it looks like Gillian's actually going to come out on top. A secondary Thor, 7-8 kills on that. The majority of the Mutalisks, I would assume, just because of that splash damage. Healthy chunk of the Medivacs have gone down, but we still have around 6 of them. And now Gillian, for the first time ever, actually has a lead for an offensive. I mean, he's taken down a hatchery. Remember, the Zerg is pretty much on 4 bases. Gillian's still on about 3. And in fact, the mains are probably getting mined out. Right? Yeah, they are getting mined out, so Elazer is probably winning this war of attrition. Gillian's going to have to make something else happen, and it looks like he's found the enemy base in the top left-hand side. He is aware of that, so if Gillian can get up there, take down that chunk of the economy. Oh, the Mutalisks could shoot up. Looks like they were on a move command. I'm not 100% sure on that one. It could be that they were trying to target down something else. Regardless, the Zerglings and the Banelings just kind of melt, and now a large enough force is left for him to pressure that top left base. Oh man, Elazer taps out. Why? Elazer, I mean, yeah, he was probably going to lose this base, don't get me wrong, but he was going to be on 3 bases, 2 of which were kind of mining, not really, but he had a nice, healthy chunk of a bank. He could have remaxed, probably not remaxed, but enough to actually deal with this once that base has gone down, remake both of the bases that he lost, and then Gillian, he's down a base already too. I mean, his main's pretty much mined out. His natural's totally mined out. He was on 1 base. And yeah, Terran can reposition its stuff, but where's he going to reposition? Up here? This place is going to get chewed apart. And yeah, I think Elazer probably tapped out a little bit prematurely. I think it was mostly just being disheartened by the fact that Gillian was coming out ahead every single time Elazer was throwing at him, just wave after wave of Zerglings. These Marauders and these Hellbats are just designed to soak up that Baneling Hellfire, and you're used to throwing this huge wall of Banelings at a Terran Bioball and seeing it melt away, but because Gillian was using a more robust composition, Elazer was not getting the results that he was used to, and so he just figured that he was losing. Don't get me wrong, Gillian was playing this absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at this just Congo line of reinforcements. It was brutal. And Elazer was definitely going to lose this space, but I don't know if he was going to lose the game. Might have been premature, really, really close, and I love that about Grandmasters and Masters. I mean, there is a league discrepancy there, and Gillian is obviously ready to move up to Grandmasters, and Elazer is probably just getting comfortable to that position. I don't know what seed they are. That was absolutely fantastic. If you guys have a replay you want me to cast, PM me here